Who has been the best and worst signing your club in the Premier League has made in the August transfer window? Let's find out. So we'll be starting out from top to bottom, which is currently the Premier League standards. So we'll start with Arsenal first, and then we will go with Leicester last. No offence to Leicester, but that's just how I decided to kind of do it in the orders. So Arsenal first. I think you've got to give the best transfer signing to Gabriel Jesus. Arteta and Pep have done good business over the summer, bringing in Jesus. Even Zinchenko's come in, done really well. But I think Jesus, as soon as he just started and he started banging in goals, even, in the friendlies, but then proved it in the Prem. He is Arsenal's number 9 and could be the number 9 to take them to the Champions League. You've got to give it to Arsenal the way he started, and a lot of it is down to Gabriel Jesus. Now, their worst signing, I don't think you could get. I don't think you could give Arsenal a worse signing. Like I'm trying to give every team a best and worst signing for each team, but sometimes, especially with Arsenal, you can't give them a best or you can't give them a worse signing because they have smashed this transfer window. And top 4, I don't want to jinx it, and I know it's early days, but could be a real possibility for Arsenal this season. Now, next up, Man City, the best signing. You've got to give Erling Haaland. The fact that they sold Gabriel Jesus in the, towards March to May, he had a really, really good. He went in with really good form. Proved that the fact they were interested in Erling Haaland. It's like he said, no, I'm banging in the goals. Don't buy him. But they have brought in Erling Haaland, who, as much as they sold Gabriel Jesus, I think bringing in Erling Haaland is a brilliant bit of business. He started off the season with a bang, scored 2 against West Ham in their 2-0 win at the London Stadium. He scored against Newcastle, tough opponent recently. Scored a hat-trick against Crystal Palace, and from then on, he's been banging in hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, a goal against Villa. He's on fire. So yeah, best, you've got to give it to Erling Haaland. The worst signing, as harsh as it sounds, I think it's Stefan Ortega. I'm sure he's not. I don't really know the reason why they've signed him. I've done a bit of my research. He's a goalkeeper, not going to get in front of Ederson. Maybe if he gets on the bench, he might get 1 or 2 games. I maybe see why they bought him, but just for the fact that he's not going to get any game time, I think it's reasonable to put him down as the worst signing, which might be a bit harsh, but I think a lot of these worst signings might be quite harsh. Next up, we've got Spurs. I think the best is Richarlison. As much as I'm a Watford fan, you've got to give it to him. Yes, Everton struggled last season, but he did really well with them. Conte has got in a side that really gels together. Bringing in Richarlison, I think obviously he'll play on the wing, would really help. And as much as he's probably nowhere near Harry Kane's standards, even if Harry Kane gets injured, he can play him as the number 9. Really good signing for Tottenham. Their worst looks like to be so far Jed Spence from Nottingham Forest. Now, last season he had a brilliant season, but he's made 1 appearance where that was off the bench, and apart from that, he hasn't even made the matchday squad. So it's harsh, yeah. You've got to give it to Jed Spence. Probably the worst signing that Tottenham have made this summer. Next up is Brighton. Now, they've had a really good start to the season, to be fair. They've just lost Graham Potter, though. Really big miss, but their best signing for me is Moises Caicedo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's gone in new centre mid, but to be fair, he's made a really good start. Got a couple of assists, helped the team out really well. You've got to give it to him, Moises Caicedo. And they haven't made many signings, but I do think he's done really well to start off the season. Their worst signing, Billy Gilmour. Again, he's not even making the match. I had to do my research on this, and I just found out that he had signed for Brighton. He's not even made the matchday squad, which is so sad for Billy Gilmour. The fact that he was on the Chelsea books, looking to be a really good centre mid, could have been a Chelsea first choice centre mid like Mason Mount. He could have been that Mason Mount. A lot of pressure, to be one of the best players for Scotland, and it is tough to see where he's got to. Man United next. Best signing's got to be Anthony. brilliant. From Ajax, he knows Erik ten Hag well. They have that good communication. He came in late August. Took him a long time for them to sign him and instantly got settled. Scored a goal against Arsenal to put them 1-0 up. That was a brilliant thing to see at the time. Now, he hasn't done much since. Obviously, that was their last league game that they have played. But I'm really excited to see what he can do this season. What a signing that could be. Next up, we got Fulham. Issa Diop. I think that's a really good addition to the centre-back position. That rhymed. Obviously, in his prime, he joins West Ham in 2018-19, made 33 appearances in the first season. Started to drop a bit. Didn't make as much appearances last season. He made 13 appearances, which is okay. It's not too much, but to be fair, the fact that Fulham have brought him in now, I think that could be huge signing for them. I know it didn't quite work out at West Ham, but for a team like Fulham, they've just been promoted. I think that could be a good deal for both of them. Chelsea, the best signing has got to be Sterling. It's mental, though, to think how Man City have got that much depth that they've managed to get rid of Sterling because he wasn't playing. He wasn't getting too much game time for Man City. Ted, I can't remember the owner's name, the new American owner, has come in, got a smart deal. It only got him for about 50 million, which in this transfer market isn't that much, especially for a player like Sterling. I reckon a couple of years ago, he could have been almost 100 million. So they've got him for half of that. Brilliant. I think the worst signing for me, it's bizarre to see they brought in Cucurella. I think he did well at Brighton, but Chelsea should be... I know they've got a new start with their new owners, but I still think they've got to be looking at Champions League, even possibly pushing for the title. And Cucurella is just not an ambitious signing. Maybe they're starting fresh. Maybe they're going with a completely new system with the way the club's going with the American owner. But I'm not a massive fan with some of the signings he's made. Liverpool. I think the worst signing has to be Núñez. They signed him for about 70 million and he scored 1 goal. He's been sent off once. All round, he's not been great. I know it's early doors, but they brought him for so much money. I think that's the thing that's made it worse. If he pushes on from here, fair enough to him, but so far it's been really poor. Their best... No one. They didn't really need too much depth. I mean, they are Liverpool, but they've not really strengthened anywhere. Like I say, Núñez is he's not been great, and they haven't really strengthened anywhere. I wouldn't see a best signing there. Brentford, they've had a good transfer winner. For me, Ben Mee, that's weird. Ben Mee is a brilliant signing. I know he got relegated from Burnley last season, but it's smart to go for the players who got relegated last season, because even though they got relegated, it's a smart move because they're good players, and also you could get them from cheaper because they'll want to leave. Yeah, I remember there was a funny commentary. He scored recently for Brentford, and the commentator was like, "It was me," and someone replied saying, "I don't think it was you, mate." I think that was quite funny. But going off topic, I think he has been he's had a brilliant start to Brentford as well. Really smart signing. Their worst signing, I don't think they've had one. I think they've had a really good transfer window all round to keep Ivan Toney, to keep their good players. Actually, no. I think no, they've not had a worse signing. I think it's hard to lose Christian Eriksen, but I think he was going to go. He was always going to go towards the end of the season, but I don't think they've got a worse signing. Newcastle's next. The best, I think, is Isaac. 2 goals in 3 games. He's had a brilliant start. He's been quality for Sweden. I think that was a really good signing. And the owners, they spent smart. I've said this before in a video. They haven't spent too big, but they've spent smart. And that's what you've got to do. Their worst signing, in my opinion, is no one. I think they've been brilliant this transfer window. Keeping it calm, not going on a shopping spree. Just bringing in Isaac, brilliant addition. Hopefully for Newcastle, they could actually kick on to maybe get Europe. But if mid-table, then that wouldn't be too bad for them. Leeds, their best player is a player called Luis Sonistela. 6 games, 3 goals. He's looking brilliant for Leeds. Now, Leeds last season, they really underperformed, in my opinion. In the transfer window, they lost Rafinha, a huge loss. But I think bringing in Luis Sonistela, 6 games, 3 goals, it's looking bright for Leeds. I do like that signing. I think the worst maybe could be Tyler Adams. Is that harsh? 6 games, no goals. But he's been all right, but 6 games, no goals is not great. I know he's a centre mid, but I'm not a fan of that. Bournemouth, best has been Ryan Fredericks. What a signing that is from West Ham. He didn't get any game time for West Ham because, to be fair, West Ham have improved a lot and they've got quality. They've got too much quality, and I think getting rid of Ryan Fredericks, he's a good Premier League player, but not quite good enough for West Ham. The fact that Bournemouth have brought him in, it's a brilliant deal all round, and I think that's a quality signing. Ryan Fredericks in the right back position. The worst, in my opinion, is Marcos Sensi. He really hasn't made an impact for Bournemouth yet. He's played 4 games. Nothing's really happened. Last season, he made 32 appearances and got 2 goals and 1 assist. It's not great, especially for the Eredivisie. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of that. But to be fair, I think apart from that, Scott Parker has had a really good transfer window. They've been smart, and I really think I could regret why I put them in my Premier League predictions, because they're looking really good at the start of the season. So next up, we got Everton. The best is Connor Cody, bringing him from Wolves. I know they haven't been amazing the last 2 years, but they were a lot better in the second half of the season last season with Bruno. They really kicked on. Connor Cody, I think that's a really good signing for Everton. I'm a little bit shocked on why Wolves let him go, but yeah, he was the captain as well. I'm really shocked why Wolves have let him go. Brilliant signing. In my opinion, the worst signing is James Garner. I don't really get it. So 2 seasons ago, at the first half of the season, he was on loan at Watford. He was really poor. Apparently, he was quite good for Nottingham Forest when he was on loan, but I don't quite think he's Premier League quality. Maybe he could prove me wrong, but I'm not a massive fan of James Garner. Next up, we've got Southampton. They brought in a player called Romeo Lavia. Looks decent. Got 1 goal in 5 games, so he looks all right. It's early days. I think it's a decent signing for Southampton. The worst looks to be Armel Bella Kotchap. He's got 6 appearances, no goals or assists. Last season he got 24 appearances in the Bundesliga for Bochum, and he didn't get any goals. He got 1 goal 2 seasons ago after 28 games, but he just doesn't really look anything special, and I don't quite think he's going to cut it in the Prem, but we'll see. Okay, Aston Villa, they got Coutinho on loan in January, but technically they permanently signed him in the summer, so you've got to give it as their signing. I think the best signing has been Felipe Coutinho. What a signing it's been. The fact they've brought in Gerrard. Not only is he a good manager, but the fact that he's a legend at Liverpool, he knows good players. The fact in the January transfer window, they knew that Gerrard was mates with Coutinho. He likes him as a player. It was a realistic target and they went for it. And they permanently got him now. What a signing that is. I think the worst signing is Olsen. But he'll probably be a backup. Obviously, they got Emi Martinez. So I kind of see maybe they needed a backup. But the fact that he's not going to play, I'm just going to put it down as a worst signing. But don't take it too personal. Next up is Crystal Palace. Their best player is Czech Decore. I think that's a brilliant signing. Ever since Patrick Vieira's come in, I doubted him at the start, I'll be honest, but he's been brilliant. He's been such a good manager for Crystal Palace. But, you know, Czech Decore, as a centre mid, he made 34 appearances last season, got a goal and assist. Nothing too special, but he's made 37 appearances for his Nation for Mali. I don't know, he just looks like a really good centre mid, to be fair. Now there were signings. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think they've made a bad signing. However, I think not strengthening the defence could maybe come back to haunt them. Now, they kept a clean sheet against Newcastle, which was, you know, pretty good. But if you look at their defence, Gaeta, Anderson, Guy, Nathaniel Klein. You know, Nathaniel Klein's getting on. Maybe I'm not a massive fan of Gaeta. Anderson, he's decent, but I feel like maybe they should have improved the defence a bit. Next up, we've got Wolves. I think the best signing is a player called Mateus Luis Nunes. Looked decent for Sporting last season, and I think him coming to the Premier League for Wolves, I reckon that could be a good signing for them. Obviously, he's not like a world-class, brilliant player, but you know, he looked decent last season. I think that could be a good addition for Wolves. Their worst signing, I think, is Nathan Collins. Brought him in from a relegated, but now sometimes, I think especially what West Ham did, bringing in Maxwell Cornet, sometimes, you know, especially what Forest did with Manuel Dennis, you know, it could be a good idea to bring in relegated players, because, you know, sometimes they are good and just unlucky. But I think Nathan Collins wasn't great for Burnley last season. He's already got sent off this season. I'm not a massive fan of him. West Ham, in my opinion, their worst signing is a player called Thilo Kehrer. He made 85 appearances for PSG, scored 4. Schalke, 45 appearances, scored 4. He really hasn't been great for West Ham this season, so I will give the worst to Kehrer. The best, well, looking at how they've started this season, no one. They have started really poor this season. In my opinion, Forest, their best signing, I've got 2. And as biased as it sounds, I think you've got to give it to Manuel Dennis. He hasn't quite kick-started the season, but if you look at how well he did last season, definitely dipped at the second half of the season. But the first half, from kind of October to January, he was brilliant. He really was. I think maybe he was overpriced by Forest, because, like I say, the second half of the season, he didn't do much at all. So maybe he was a bit overpriced. But I think it'll be either him or a player called Taiwo Awoniyi. I definitely butchered that. Starting up front for Forest, 7 games, 2 goals is decent, but I think the stats aren't quite showing how good he has played this season. He's definitely started off with a bang, and yeah, it's a good signing for Forest. The worst, I wouldn't say the worst signing for Forest, but because I think that'd be really harsh to say that, but the most disappointing is Jesse Lingard. You know, yes, he hasn't been too great for Man United recently, but in his prime, he was really good. And 2 seasons ago, was brilliant for West Ham. Do you think going at a team like Forest could really do some damage? And he came off the bench against Fulham, didn't start against Bournemouth. He has been quite disappointing. I won't say worst signing, but disappointing. Last but not least, we've got Leicester. The problem is they've not signed anyone. They've not let go of anyone. I mean, actually, no. I think they've struggled without Kasper Schmeichel. I think them not bringing in a keeper, I don't know what they were thinking, because Ward has been awful at the start of the season. Not to be toxic or anything, but it's my opinion, he has not been great at all. So I think not bringing keeper is a huge mistake. They've not brought in anyone. I think they did all right to keep Tielemans, but I can kind of see why they're struggling so much, because the business in the summer was really poor. What do you guys think? Do you agree? I always love to hear your opinions in the comments below. Do you agree? If you don't, let me know what you think. Is there a player that I've missed out? Do you think I've been harsh with some of them? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are new. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.